Ericsson has a huge presence here at 5G World 2016, something over on the demo zone, which we're talking at in due course, but also a lot of talk about the use cases and about the technologies that Ericsson is bringing to market on one of their booths. I'm joined here by Hans from Ericsson. Hans, thanks for joining us. Tell us a bit about your role at Ericsson first of all.
Thank you. I'm working with technology leadership, looking to new technologies, what we need in a couple of years' time. 5G fits perfectly well with that, so that's where we spend most of our time today.
Sure. Well, let's talk about Ericsson and 5G at the moment. What sort of technologies, what sort of conversations are you having with visitors to the show here?
I think a couple of different things. We like to see 5G not only as a radio, but also the core network, the transport piece, but also how we innovate together with other industries. So that are quite a few things we're looking into, and we try to look into it from an end-to-end perspective.
So we're talking about, I guess, use cases here. You know, 5G is a network and all the opportunities that presents, but what are those opportunities? You've got some model lorries and things on your stand here that maybe hints at some of that.
We have one example here where we look into how we collaborate with a company called Scania. We're looking into how we can do platooning, basically making sure that lorries are sort of going one after each other along the highways. Sure. And improving it by shrinking the distance between the lorries, you can actually improve decrease the consumption of fuel quite a lot actually. So that's one thing we're doing together. I mean, we're working with Scania and other companies, try to learn their challenges, see how we can help them, how we can make sure that they use our networks in the best possible way, both the network we deploy and the network we provide to our operators, basically.
Automotive is a huge use case, very interesting technologies being deployed in that as well, but also 5G for industry. That's another area of focus for you as well, I see.
Yeah, I mean 5G for industries is similar. We're trying to engage with the industries. ABB, for example, is one industry to look into how can we do remotely controlled robots and what does that mean for our networks? What do we need to do with the networks in terms of reducing latency, maybe redistributing functions in the network to make sure that we have the right functional split to make sure that we get the characteristics we want for these applications.
And I guess, you know, it's very easy to think of 5G purely as a speed play, but it's that low latency that is very important as well, particularly for robotics and industrial applications.
I would say it's a lot of things. I mean, of course, speed, more of the same, more broadband, but it's also latency, of course. But I think the key thing with 5G is not only this, that's also the business expansion piece. How we engage with new industries, how we make sure that they can use our networks and how we can make a value of our networks to the new players, like in the industries, in automotive, whatever it might be. So that's a super important area. So it's much more than only more bandwidth or lower latency. I think that's very important to stress.
And in terms of Ericsson's areas of innovation in the 5G space, you've got other things on here as well. You've got some prototypes, 5G radio prototypes. Talk to me about network slicing as well.
So network slicing is our take on how to build a core network, the network that connects the radio to the cloud. How can we build that network more efficiently? How can we create logical slices in the network, each slice with unique characteristics? And these are totally isolated from each other, so you can deploy different services on the same infrastructure basically, and they're totally isolated, so whatever you do in one service, it doesn't affect the other one. So that's what we're showing here actually. And actually this is quite interesting. This is one thing we started out working together with one of our partners, Docomo in Japan. Oh, yeah. We're working together with them, develop this concept, and now we're making a prototype or a demo of that based on our commercial software, commercial products. But what we do is not only adding the mechanisms here, we're also adding quite a bit of automation to this, because that will be the key here. It's not only sort of the bits and pieces, how you shuffle it. It's about how do you manage and how do you manage the network over the whole life cycle, setting up the function, using it in runtime and decommission the service whenever you need it. And that should be much faster than today. So this is one example showing here how we do that in real time.
Now, finally, for now, Hans, you know, 2020 is seen as the sort of drop zone really for 5G, and obviously we're, you know, 3.5, 4 years away from that. What would you see as the primary challenges between now and then to make sure that organisations, that standards bodies get 5G right first time?
That's a really good question. I think there's a lot of things that need to be in place, and of course right now we're trialing a lot of technologies, see what technologies will fit in the long run. I think the main thing now is how can we do a pre-commercial release of 5G already to the Olympics in Asia that will happen 2018 and 2020. And there's a lot of things there. We need to work with the radio part, we need to work with the core part, and we need to work with the industries also to enable them to get into our ecosystem. So I think there's a lot of challenges, and I think the timeline is probably the most challenging part here. Right? It's not only 4 years away, so it will be a very intense couple of years now to make this happen, actually.
A lot of moving parts, but we're very pleased that you're here showing off what technologies you've got, whetting our appetite, if you will, for 5G when it does eventually drop. Hans from Ericsson, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.